loving The Lion King, you probably felt something was missing in the sequel. Remember that feeling when Mufasa appeared in the clouds, speaking to Simba? The Lion King 2 never quite captured that same magic. As a kid, I was confused when books showed Simba had a son named Kopa, but the movie only featured his daughter, Kiara. Then years later, the Lion Guard introduced Kion as Simba's son. Where was he during the second movie? This mystery bothered me for years until I uncovered the truth about the forgotten prince of Pride Rock. A darker story than I expected, connected to Zira's backstory. Today I'm sharing everything about Disney's hidden decisions. Disney published 6 whole books establishing Kopa as Simba's heir, but his disappearance from Lion King 2 points to something truly dark hiding in plain sight. When you watch the sequel closely, Zira's hatred for Simba burns with an intensity that feels deeply personal. She's consumed by a vendetta that goes far beyond political disagreement or loyalty to Scar. Every interaction between them crackles with unspoken trauma that shapes the entire story's foundation. That confrontation scene where Zira finds Kovu with Kiara reveals everything through her venomous words. These lands belong to Scar. And then the truly revealing moment when she snarls that Simba took everything from her. But what exactly did he take? Yes, he exiled her pride to the barren outlands where they struggle for survival, but such harsh punishment seems excessive just for supporting the wrong king. Why would Simba condemn them to slow starvation unless Zira committed something truly unforgivable? What terrible act could possibly justify such extreme punishment and explain the palpable tension between them? The dark theory that connects everything is chilling, but makes perfect sense. Zira killed Kopa as revenge for Scar's death. As Scar's most devoted follower, she would have been devastated when Simba returned and defeated him. What more devastating way to hurt Simba than taking away his firstborn son just as he took her beloved leader? This explains Simba banishing her pride, her obsession with revenge, and most tellingly, Simba's overwhelming protectiveness toward Kiara. Simba's behavior with Kiara becomes heartbreakingly clear through this lens. His constant surveillance, his insistence on escorts, his endless warnings about dangers beyond Pride Rock. That emotional moment where he tells Kiara, "I don't want to lose you," carries the weight of a father who has already experienced the unbearable loss of a child to violence. The movie gives us these clues without directly addressing the tragedy. When Simba and Zira face off and she says, "You know the penalty for returning to the Pride Lands," with Simba responding, "But the child does not." They're speaking in coded language about a horrific event both understand, but neither wants to mention in front of their children. The punishment they discuss suggests something far worse than mere political allegiance. Even Nala's character supports this theory. The adventurous, fearless lioness who once explored the elephant graveyard becomes completely supportive of strict safety rules for Kiara. The behavior of a mother who has already lost one child and is determined not to lose another. Zira's fixation on using Kovu to kill Simba specifically comes from personal vengeance. From her perspective, Simba unjustly punished her for what she saw as justified revenge for Scar's death, creating the cycle of vengeance driving the entire sequel. The tragedy of Kopa, never mentioned but ever present, haunts every scene between these wounded parents fighting over the future of their remaining children. Just when we thought we understood the tragedy behind Simba's family, Disney created a whole new mystery by adding another cub to the Pride Lands. In 2015, Disney launched a brand new show called The Lion Guard that completely changed everything we thought we knew about Simba's family tree. This series introduced a character named Kion, who's supposedly Simba and Nala's son and Kiara's younger brother. But if he existed during Lion King 2, why does nobody ever mention him, not even once during the entire movie? Not even when Kiara is in danger. The Lion Guard fits in this awkward timeline position between the original Lion King and Lion King 2. In the premiere episode, Return of the Roar, we see Kiara as a cub training to become queen someday, while Kion gets introduced as her younger brother who receives this magical power called the Roar of the Elders. Like a missing puzzle piece in the grand picture of the Pride Lands history, Kion's entire existence creates a confusing gap. He can summon the great kings of the past to create powerful wind blasts as the leader of the Lion Guard, a team protecting the Pride Lands from hyenas and other dangers. Following Disney's official chronology, Simba becomes king, then has Kiara, then has Kion, then all the Lion Guard adventures happen, and then Lion King 2 takes place. But when we watch Lion King 2, there's absolutely no sign of Kion anywhere. No one mentions him, no one wonders where he is when the outsiders attack, and Kiara is consistently treated as an only child. Even when the entire Pride gathers together, Kion is completely absent. What makes this especially strange is Kion's importance in the Lion Guard, where he's the protagonist with magical powers, a special destiny, and meaningful connections to the spirit world. Across 3 seasons, 2015 to 2019, we see Kion battle major villains like Scar's ghost in Battle for the Pride Lands, form deep friendships with his guard members, and develop romance with another lion. Yet somehow none of these significant life events mattered during Lion King 2. The Lion Guard creators addressed this problem in the final season. In episodes like The Tree of Life and Return to the Pride Lands, Kion gets injured fighting Scar's ghost and needs healing from a distant mystical place called the Tree of Life, where he meets a female lion named Rainy, falls in love, and decides to become king there instead of returning to Pride Rock. This explains his physical absence but doesn't solve why no one even mentions him in Lion King 2. How could Simba and Nala's son become king of another land without anyone referencing it? It's like Kion becomes erased from family history. Some fans think Disney created Kion for the younger Disney Junior audience without properly considering the established Lion King timeline, introducing magical powers and other elements without addressing that Lion King 2 already established Kiara as an only child. The timeline contradictions aren't just unique to The Lion King. They're part of a much bigger pattern that reveals how Disney really operates behind the scenes. What if Kion's mysterious absence wasn't actually a storytelling mistake, but a calculated business decision made by completely different teams, working decades apart with entirely different goals? The truth behind this royal family mystery has nothing to do with magical roars or ancient spirits. It's all about the corporate realities of animation production. Let's look at what actually happened when Lion King 2 was created. Back in 1998, Disney's direct-to-video division operated separately from their main animation studio. Disney Toon Studios created affordable sequels with budgets sometimes as small as $5 million compared to the $45 million spent on the original Lion King. These financial constraints meant they prioritized marketable stories over perfect continuity. When they made Lion King 2, they created a Romeo and Juliet-inspired love story between Kiara and Kovu that would appeal to fans of the original film without considering Kopa from the book series. The writers and directors weren't required to read every piece of tie-in media before starting production. This approach to storytelling happened because Disney's corporate structure allowed different creative teams to work independently. Each team focused on their specific project goals rather than maintaining a consistent universe. When sequels contradicted earlier works, it wasn't because of storytelling mistakes, but because maintaining continuity wasn't the primary business objective for these separate divisions. Then in 2015, Disney Junior needed fresh content for preschoolers and young elementary kids. They revitalized the Lion King brand, but faced a challenge. Market research showed young boys preferred male characters they could identify with. Kiara was already established as the female lead, so they created Kion to appeal to boys and expand merchandising opportunities. The producers of The Lion Guard focused on creating engaging 22-minute episodes with simple morals about teamwork and friendship for their 4 to 7-year-old audience. Kion was designed with bright colors, distinguishing features like his shoulder mark, and special powers that translated well to toys and games. The show's commercial goals took priority over explaining continuity issues with a direct-to-video sequel made nearly 2 decades earlier. Ford Riley, the executive producer of The Lion Guard, carefully navigated this continuity problem in interviews. He explained that the show takes place during the time gap in The Lion King 2 between when Kiara meets Kovu as a cub and when they're grown up, without addressing what happened to Kion after that time gap. Disney attempted to patch this problem in later seasons by sending Kion away to the Tree of Life, giving fans an explanation for his absence, but they never directly acknowledged the simpler truth. The Lion Guard was created by a different team in a different era for a different audience, with different commercial goals than Lion King 2. These business realities, not storytelling choices, created the timeline contradictions that puzzle fans to this day. Those corporate explanations about different production teams might satisfy casual viewers, but for true Lion King fans, the absence of Kion in Lion King 2 demanded a more thoughtful solution. Ever noticed how some of the most beloved franchises handle characters that exist in multiple versions with contradicting stories? The answer might completely change how you watch every Lion King movie from now on. When we look at all these timeline problems with Kopa and Kion and how they couldn't possibly exist in the same world, dedicated fans fans have developed an interesting theory. The books, movies, and TV shows exist in parallel timelines that share similarities but have major differences, especially regarding Simba and Nala's children. Think about it. In the book universe, Simba and Nala have their son Kopa, who's supposed to become king someday. We follow his adventures as a cub, learning about royal responsibilities and making friends throughout the Pride Lands. The books never show what happens when he grows up, so maybe in that reality he eventually becomes king after Simba. Then there's the movie universe, where Kiara is Simba and Nala's only child. There's no mention of any brothers or other heirs to Pride Rock. The entire story of Lion King 2 revolves around Kiara meeting Kovu and bringing the two prides together. If Simba had other children in this universe, the throne wouldn't depend solely on Kiara. And finally, we have the TV show universe, where both Kiara and Kion exist as siblings. Kiara is still the future queen, while Kion leads the Lion Guard with his roaring powers. This timeline explains Kion's absence from Lion King 2 because he leaves to rule the Tree of Life with his mate Ronnie, creating his own legacy far from Pride Rock. This parallel universe concept works similarly to how other major franchises handle their complicated stories. Different versions of characters exist across different media without contradicting each other. What do you think? Could your favorite Lion King character exist in multiple universes? Disney has never officially confirmed or denied this theory. They seem comfortable letting fans develop their own explanations for these timeline issues rather than forcing everything into one story with obvious holes, almost silently acknowledging these separate versions of the Pride Lands. The Lion Guard itself provides evidence for this theory. The show makes references to characters and events from both movies and books. There's an episode mentioning ancient Lion Guard teams from the past, and another referencing stories from the book universe. The show's creators honor all parts of the franchise while creating their own path. Many franchises use multiverse approaches when their timelines become too complicated. Star Wars has their Legends universe for older stories. Star Trek created an alternate timeline for newer films. This creative solution respects original stories while allowing new ones to develop without restriction. Fans have even noticed differences in how certain locations appear across Lion King media. The Outlands look different in books versus movies versus the show. These parallel versions of the same places evolve differently in each universe, giving each timeline its own unique character and story possibilities. Beyond the changing landscapes of the Pride Lands lies an unresolved mystery that haunts the franchise. Did Disney quietly replace one prince with another? The similarities between Kopa and Kion are too striking to ignore, yet the company has never acknowledged the connection, leaving us to wonder, what if Kion wasn't a brand new character, but Disney's subtle attempt to resurrect Kopa without directly acknowledging him? The spiritual connection both princes share with the past kings reveals Disney's pattern. Kopa would stare at the stars, having meaningful conversations with Mufasa's spirit, who guided him about becoming a future king. Then Disney created Kion with his magical roar of the elders that channels the power of the great kings through him. They took Kopa's spiritual connection and transformed it into something visually exciting for a TV show aimed at younger viewers. Their relationships with Vitani tell another story. Kopa and Vitani played together as cubs in the books, while in the Lion Guard, Kion makes peace with the outsiders, and Vitani eventually becomes the new Lion Guard leader when he leaves. Both stories create this important bridge between Simba's son and Vitani that connects the Pridelanders and outsiders. Imagine this alternate timeline where Lion King 2 acknowledged Kopa's existence. The story would transform completely. Picture Kopa attacked by Zira, presumed dead but actually lost, returning to Pride Rock during Kiara and Kovu's romance. The emotional landscape would shift dramatically. Simba consumed by waves of guilt and relief, his eyes haunted by years of believing his firstborn was gone forever. Nightmares that once tormented him replaced by the miracle of his son standing before him. Kiara would struggle with this brother she never knew existed suddenly appearing in her life, threatening her position and identity. This single change would elevate Lion King 2 from a decent sequel to something truly special, creating a visual tapestry where two possible futures exist side by side. The simple love story we got versus the complex family drama that could have been. again, with Kopa's return casting long shadows across Pride Rock, or the Lion Guard could have revealed Kion as Kopa with his memory wiped after Zira's attack. Simba and Nala protecting him from trauma gave him a new name and identity. Throughout the series, fragments of his past would resurface until the ultimate revelation that tied everything together in a way that honored both the books and movies. Fans clearly see these connections, creating stories where adult Kopa returns after Lion King 2, or where Kion discovers his hidden past. Some even theorize they're the same lion from merged alternate universes, showing how desperately fans want closure to these storylines. Disney seems content leaving these questions unanswered, allowing different versions of Simba's family to exist separately across media. Maybe they prefer keeping these timelines apart for creative freedom in future projects, or perhaps they're waiting for the perfect moment to finally reveal how these two princes connect. So now we understand why Kion was hidden from Lion King 2. He wasn't hidden at all, but simply didn't exist yet. Disney created him almost 2 decades after the sequel. This mystery shows how messy things get when stories stretch across years without anyone tracking the details. What's amazing is how the Lion King universe gives us these different versions of Simba's family that don't quite match up but still feel connected. Disney never planned for all these characters to exist together. They created new stories without worrying about perfect continuity, and that's what makes The Lion King special. It gives fans the chance to piece together their own theories. What do you think? Did Zira attack Kopa? Are Kion and Kopa from different timelines? Share your theories in the comments about what really happened between the Kings of Pride Rock and their heirs.